Hello everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome back to my Final Fantasy XIV Let's Play. So, last part, we checked out Sunken Temple of Karn. We've been checking out most of the dungeons and the primals, and I've been mostly sticking to Healer Happy because I really want to get this character to level 50, especially now that we know Heaven's Word is 3 months away. I want to really be able to flesh out this series, and I think that I'm holding myself back by leveling multiple jobs in order to show you on the dungeon. So, in this video, we're going to be healing Cutter's Cry. Cutter's Cry is another, I'm going to say quote-unquote optional dungeon in the game. You unlock it here in Ul'dah at level 38. Sibold, in case you're looking for a location, there you go, on the map right there. See if I can zoom in real quick. There we go. So you just come here at level 38, you talk to this guy, and now we just have to go to Cutter's Cry, and it'll unlock. Now, this dungeon, while I said it was quote-unquote optional, because even though it is an optional dungeon, you're going to want to do it, and in fact, if you want to unlock everything at level 50, you're going to have to do Cutter's Cry. The reason behind that is that your second rank Grand Company hunting log actually requires you to kill enemies from this dungeon. It's going to require 3 sandbats. My controller just went a little dead there. It's going to require 3 sandbats, 2 sabotender deserters, one Myrmidon Princess. So, if you want to get to max Grand Company rank, you have to do this. So, there's no reason not to. So, the first thing you're going to want to do before you even unlock Cutter's Cry, or before you even do it for the first time, you're going to want to finish your rank 1 Grand Company hunting log and upgrade your rank to, I think it's Flame Private 3rd class. In my case, is an Immortal Flame. You're going to want to do all of the promotions until you unlock the second Grand Company hunting log. That's the biggest thing. Also, don't know why I ran over here. I meant to go to the Chocobo Keep. I actually just meant to leave because Cutter's Cry, very thankfully, is right in Central Thanalin. So yeah, I wanted to really show unlocking this dungeon because I wanted to take that extra time to mention the hunting log and mention the importance of it and why you should have that hunting log done. A big thing about this dungeon is that a lot of people go into it pre-40, and I'm doing that on my healer. On healer, it's not as bad, but if you're level 40 when you go into this dungeon, it's not only easier because you're a higher level than the lowest level possible, but a lot of job actions that you get at 40 help you a lot in here. The biggest example has got to be Paladin with Shield Oath, because Sword Oath is great for the extra damage, killing the bosses faster, but the reduced damage taken, the increased enmity, this is where you really start to notice it if you have a pre-40 Paladin. Also, there's just other abilities that'll help you beat it faster. Luckily, level 38 is a big level for White Mage because we have Shroud of Saints now, so I can use that along with my Ethers to keep my MP up. And I'm going to be making comment on the use of Shroud of Saints during this dungeon because a lot of healers kind of hold on to Shroud of Saints and they just, whatever, you know, they just don't really use it unless they're desperate for MP. And you're going to see me using it very, very frequently. Pretty much as soon as my MP hits, you know, I lose like 20% of my MP or 25%, I'm going to use it because think of it like Invigorate, all right? If you've never played a melee class, Invigorate restores 400 TP. Unless you're on Dragoon, then it restores 500. And you don't wait until you're at 100 TP to use that. You do it when you're at, you know, 500 or 600-ish because you want to get it on cooldown. You want to make sure that you're not wasting time, you're not wasting TP by using it really, really late. And the same goes for Shroud of Saints. You don't want to wait until you're almost out of MP to use it because then you're going to run out of MP again and you're still going to be waiting on it. And it has a fairly long cooldown. It also reduces the, what am I trying to say here? It also reduces your enmity. So some people use it for that, they time it for that, but it more or less lines up. You more or less use it for the MP purposes, and the reduced enmity just kind of happens along the way. So once you unlock Cutter's Cry, same thing as we always do. We go over to the Duty Finder. We're going to click that. I know I'm going to make sure Join Party in Progress isn't clicked. It's very often you'll join a Cutter's Cry, well, in the middle of a dungeon that's not going so well. So, I don't know how long this is going to take, so I'm just going to cut to when the dungeon starts, and I'll see you guys in a couple minutes. Alright, here we go. I just finished yawning, and right as that happened, the commence button went. Alright, why is it not going? There we go. I really got to figure out why my controller does this. My controller just, I don't know. Non-Xbox controllers, when I try plugging them into computers, I just don't have good luck with it. They go unconnected very, very frequently, and it causes disruptions in my play. Just another reason why I normally play with a keyboard and mouse. Alright, so, just like the start of every dungeon, we are going to start off with the Protect, Stone Skin. By this point, you should know this. Now, if your tank doesn't give you the time to Stone Skin everybody, then don't worry. As long as the tank and maybe yourself have it, then it's fine. I'm also going to re-Stone Skin him because I noticed that he didn't have Defiance on. Who's new? My character is, but not me. Yeah, I was just letting him know. He asked if we had a new person. See, this tank almost just pretty much earned my commendation before even having to see how he performs. He did something I've never recommended in any of these videos. I don't think I have, at least. And that is... Oh, why did I turn off Cleric Stance? And that is, he checked the message at the beginning of the dungeon and noticed that it said that somebody in this group is new to this duty. And the first thing he did was ask, who's the new person? Just in case they needed anything explained. That is the sign of a good duty finder tank. He's also doing fine. He's barely taking any damage. I haven't seen if he's been using cooldowns, but this part of the dungeon's really not too hard in terms of damage, as long as the tank moves out of any tremors that spawn on the ground. But I just wanted to shout that out, because this tank, depending on how he performs, he actually performs, he may have just earned my commendation off that alone. And nobody else is new to this dungeon, or at least nobody spoke up, so I'm the only one who shouldn't know, or who you know, he thought may not have known. So now that I've praised this tank for his duty finder ethics, I want to talk about the trash for this place. So it's going to start out with just a few really, really easy trash pulls. And then after you kill a few, a bunch of enemies are going to spawn along the outside of the room, and you're going to have to kill these, and then you can move on with the dungeon. The big thing that happens in this dungeon a lot is you see these tremors, these earth tremors right here. While I'm explaining this, I'll just regen him. All right, there we go. And the Black Mage is also sleeping. I feel like this is going to be a good dungeon. So, see these earth tremors right here? If you stand on these, they pulse damage every now and again. Also, you just saw another thing happen. One just spawned under me. That can happen too, where see the tremors just spawned under the Lancer right there? You want to try and move out of those, especially if you're the tank, because you're taking enough damage as it is. So, that's the big thing about the earlier parts of this dungeon. Later in this dungeon, it becomes a non-issue. It's just the first few trash pulls, you really want to watch out for those tremors, because they can do a lot of extra damage. Now that I've explained that, let's move on. So, those sandbats, remember, hunting log. Rank 2 hunting log. You need to make sure that you have that unlocked before you go in here for the first. Don't get me wrong, you could always come back and do it, but why not kill two birds with one stone, you know? That's the way I like to think. If I can get both things done at the same time, why wouldn't I, you know? Another thing is that you saw me go through those shifting sands. I'm going to mention something later that you probably don't really need to know this, but just in case it happens to you, I want to mention it. There is a speedrun strat to this dungeon where you do sack pulls. And I think I mentioned those in the last video in Karn. But in this dungeon, it's a lot more common for groups to do it. So, it's not so common that you should expect to see it in the duty finder. But I just wouldn't be surprised if I were you. You know, that's all I'm really doing is preparing you in case you do see it. And I don't think we'll have that here. I just want to mention it. Basically, you'll have the tank pull everything, go die in a corner, everybody runs past all the enemies, and then you res the tank and you move on. I just want to mention that just because it can happen. Also, I'm probably going to pull aggro here, but it's okay. Remember, if you pull aggro, just stand near the tank. Let him pull the aggro off of you. Don't go running around like a chicken without your head. I'm going to throw a regen on myself. I'm going to throw a regen on him. I still have one on me. That's one thing that warriors may sometimes have trouble with if they're a little bit less experienced with the job, is your main AoE enmity generating tool, he's not level 40 yet, so he doesn't have his other one, is Overpower, which is a conal move. So if you want, in order to line every enemy up with your Overpower, you usually have to move around a little bit. So you saw him, he was kind of just rotating between the enemies and just overpowering them. One thing you may want to do instead is literally just try to get them all in front of you. It may piss off your melees a little bit, especially a monk or a dragoon. Not so much a ninja unless you mess up their trick attack or their sneak attack. But It's worth mentioning. The only other thing you can do is cross-class flash if you have it. It's not the greatest, but it at least helps you make sure that you have all the enemies on yourself without having to move them all around. I still highly recommend you move them all around to get them in front of you. It's just that flash can still be good in case you're having issues doing that or pulling enemies or hitting them all with your overpower. Eventually, you'll get Steel Cyclone, and that's a full AoE around you, and it's amazing, by the way. But I just want to mention that. So here we go. We got 2 more trash pulls, I think. Now, there's going to be some shrapnels here. Very often, groups will have this issue where they'll die to the shrapnel. So it's the shrapnel does explode. I mean, at this point, you've seen bombs before. This is nothing new. I just want to make special mention of it. Also, the damage that this group is doing is very, very good. I'm very happy to see. So you guys have been hearing me mention that I always dread running into black mages in this dungeon because a lot of them don't know what to do, how to swap between the modes, and it's why I want to play a black mage. I'm still going to do that. I want you to pay attention to the spells this black mage is using. So at this point, you have Fire 3 and you have Blizzard 3. And instead of using Transpose to switch between Umbral Ice and Astral Fire, you should be using those. But you only use them to switch between the forms or Fire 3 if you get a Fire Starter proc. You don't spam Fire 3 or Blizzard 3. It's not an effective means of doing damage. You literally... Here, watch his spell order. Watch his spell order. He's casting Thunder first. Now, this is more of a boss order, which you usually don't need as much here. Also, he's taking a lot of damage, so... Glad he popped Foresight. But he casts Thunder, and then he casts Fire 3 to get to the max fire form. Damn, he is getting wrecked. Is he just... Oh, never mind. He was just getting demolished. Sorry, I had to go silent there for a second. I was just making sure that everything was in check. So... Okay, let's start over watching him. So, he's at max MP, so to switch from Umbral Ice to Fire 3, he uses Fire 3. Now he's using Fire, Fire, Fire. I mean, that's his order. That's his spell order now. Fire, 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 Fire. You can get a lot of fires off at this level. Holy moly. And now he needs to switch to Ice, so he uses Blizzard 3. Cast Blizzard 1. Now, on Trash, most Black Mages won't bother casting Thunder, because the enemies die so fast that, you know, the odds of you getting a Thundercloud proc are so low that people just don't do it. You know, it's just a normal thing. He also wants to go this way, so we'll have some extra trash as well. Not many groups go this way to pull this trash, but I actually need that last Sandbat, so I actually appreciate him doing this. He might need it too. That might have been why he actually came this way. But if you need that third Sandbat, just be sure to tell your groups to come down here and pull this last little bit of trash. Doesn't take too much time. It's a little bit more experience, so it's not too big of a deal. So yeah, I'm gonna do it myself too, but I really want to point out that this Black Mage is indeed playing the correct way for his level. Warrior doing an excellent job as well. Another thing, this Dragoon, I very often, see Dragoons just completely ignore Heavy Thrust because I guess it's an extra button to press. Can't have that. So I'm also want to commend him. He is actually going out of his way to Heavy Thrust and do his proper combos, which, you know, as I just said, can be a little bit rare. That Splintered Cane, by the way, actually becomes a Vintage Cane. It's not a bad weapon on its own. It's a little bit better than the old level 31 I had, so if you do need an upgrade, you know, roll on it if you're a white mage. But I actually have an HQ Vintage Cane. I just bought it. Like, I didn't care. I was like, I know I don't like this. I don't want to spend money. I'll kite. There we go. So, this boss... this boss there's a very special strategy for it, and I just need 2 seconds to cast Stone Skin on everybody. You can sleep the small ones. I'll kite the big ones. So, what's very common on this boss is to just have your healer kite all the adds. And it's a little bit overwhelming if you've never done that before, but you'll see what I mean. So at the start of this fight, you're just fighting the Myrmidon Princess, and that's it. She doesn't really do anything special, and we have great damage, so she probably won't get to do anything special for the whole fight. One thing she does do is silence, and you can actually avoid that. Remember when I showed you running through the boss on Hawk Manor? You could do the same thing to avoid the silence here, and it's a lot easier to do here than it is to do on the boss on Hawk Manor. So I'm not going to say you have to do that. I'm just saying that as a healer, I like to do that. So I'm immediately going to try to pull aggro on this Myrmidon Marshal and run it around the room. That is my goal here, is to keep that Marshal away from my tank, because they're just zerging down the boss. That's all you really need to do here. As soon as the boss dies, all the trash dies with it. Now, if this Marshal gets too close to the princess, what'll happen is he'll start regenerating health, and you have to separate them. So by kiting that enemy around the room, if your DPS is fast enough, you won't even get any more ad spawns. Nice. Hopefully the Black Mage doesn't roll on it, because I really want it. So yeah, that's all you really have to do. Now, that fight could get extremely hard. I cannot stress how difficult that fight can be if you don't do that strategy. Also, I have way too many items in here. I really got to get rid of some stuff, like vendor it, just anything. What'll start happening is more and more ads will spawn if you don't kill that boss fast enough. Like, a lot of ads will spawn if you don't kill that boss. There'll be there's the princess, there's the guard, it's just a ton of, a bunch of small ones, and it can get really hairy. You saw, I have a really good group here, so it was kind of difficult to show how hairy it can get, and although part of me is pretty relieved that this group is as good as it is, we're also going to kill everything in this room according to our tank for EXP. Don't mind that at all. So just have your healer, throw a regen on the tank, throw a regen on the DPS, whatever he needs to do. Just heal with regens, because the boss doesn't really hit that hard. So you can heal purely off regens if you want to. And yeah, just run. Just do circles. That's all you got to do. Just keep running, just keep running, just keep running, running. Wait, why do we still have loot in the chest? Oh, it's one more of these items. Yeah, more of those items that you have to go out of your way to craft. Yeah, so I was mentioning that splintered cane before we got to the first boss. That actually crafts into, I believe, what's called a vintage cane. I just went out and bought one on this character. I was like, you know what? I just want to level fast at this point, and I want to be able to do my videos. I've already taught you guys through the previous parts, you know, how to go about saving, using the quests that you run into, rolling on items for alternate classes on dungeons, making the use of the Grand Company gear. I've shown you guys all of that now. So now I'm really just concerned with getting this character to 50. You may see me breaking a few of my own rules. You just have to remember I myself have external resources that I can make use of if I ever need to, just for the sake of teaching newer players how it works. You know, if I'm not, I've already done my savings one, so let's just get to the actual content section. You know, one really big thing I want to get to with the series is level 50. Obviously, you know, I could, you know, if I wanted to, I could just go on. I have an alt that has classes that need leveling, that has fresh level 50s that are completely ungeared. But I really want to show it from scratch. Like, not like, oh, I have another character and all my jobs are 50 and they're not like full item level 130, so I'll use those. Like, that's not adequate to me. What's adequate to me is literally I get on a new character and I show you how to do it from scratch. There's going to be a lot more recording of, I guess, kind of fluff content around that time, because I'm going to want to show as much as possible. It's not like this where you see me like, you know, I'll go up 3 levels in between a video and just be like, oh, so this is the next dungeon. It'll be more like, all right, I'm level 50 now. There's not much to skip. I got to show the relic quest. I got to give updates on how to get gear when you're new, you know, making use of the hunts, joining a hunt link shell. That might be hard to do on this character because, well, it's not that I guess I don't want to say I have a reputation, but it's just like, you know, my YouTube channel means that when I go into populated link shells like that I get trolled a lot. And it may result in just, I don't know, I just kind of like staying away from those scenarios, you know? It's not even like I don't mind being trolled, but I hate when other people have to suffer somebody trolling me. Like, okay, good example. I'm in Mordona, right? And I shout looking for group for a hunt, you know? And somebody will notice that my name is there, and they'll say something, and then somebody else will reply, I don't understand why people hate him, and then somebody will reply because he's an asshole, or he's bad at the game, or because he makes YouTube videos. Like, it becomes a whole topic. It never just ends with one person, like, saying something and then being done. It never ends like that. If it did, I wouldn't mind so much. But I don't like that other people have to suffer through seeing that conversation. It's why even when I go into dungeons, unless I need to type, I don't. Because I don't even want to take a chance that I'm drawing attention and welcoming people into that topic, you know? I don't want the extra attention. I don't want any special treatment in these dungeons. Which is why I'm glad it seems like none of these people recognize me, you know? I'm actually kind of glad. I like not getting recognized in dungeons. Which is why this character's been nice. Obviously, I get recognized because Happy's in the name. And some people, you know, watch the series and they get me in a dungeon and they're like, oh, hey, it's the alt from the Let's Play series. Cool. And I do run into a lot of nice people, and them, I thank them, and, you know, I talk with them if they, sorry, the tank said something funny. If they want to talk or anything, like, I have no problem with that. It's just, I just want to avoid people having to suffer through those trolley conversations. But anyway, on to a much happier note. We're already almost at the second boss. Now, these rooms are where it's very popular. I said I'd make mention of sack pulls. These rooms are the most common rooms where you'll see groups do sack pulls in this dungeon. What they'll do is they'll literally, so the exit you can see is over there. You see that little, like, sand pillar over there? What most groups will do is they'll have the tank just grab all the enemies they can between here and there, die, like, right in the water right over there in front of it, and then the DPS go through and the healer raises the tank. Now, the tank can even get through, actually, if he's careful enough. You can get through it even if you have enemies on you. But most of the time, sack pulling is a little bit more popular just because people feel safer about the status of the group if the tank dies and all the enemies reset. I don't know why. I just more often see the sack pulls here than the actual big pulls and just skip killing it all. Both can happen, and both are equally good. Nice. Nice. Sorry for my nice voice. I'm glad I've gotten a few pieces. Oh my god, this guy's getting wreckerinoed. I'm gonna have to. Oh no, he's fine. That was weird. Oh, never mind. As soon as he was done getting, he got dropped by like half of his HP. The black mage, in their utmost kindness, slept everything. So there wasn't a whole lot of damage after that. And now he's only tanking one enemy, which means I can help DPS. I really like. Theirs is a really good Cutter's Cry group. Not every Cutter's Cry group goes like this. Just letting you know, it's usually a little bit worse. You know, the Duty Finder, it's like Russian roulette, you know. Sometimes you get the empty chamber, and sometimes you don't. The empty chambers are the good groups, and the one chamber with the bullet in it is the group that makes you want to tear your hair out. Don't go through. Okay, good. Just making sure. Sometimes, that's another thing that can happen. Sometimes groups literally just go through for whatever reason. Like, they don't even concern themselves with the possibility that maybe, just maybe, you're going to kill everything unless you let them know ahead of time. So, whenever I see somebody walk towards it, I'm just like, yeah, don't go through there yet, please. Please don't go through there yet. So, one thing I really didn't mention at all, and I did it on the first boss. The first boss isn't really a good example. In fact, I don't think any of the bosses are going to be a good example about it until the last boss. You saw me use Shroud of Saints right before the ad spawned on the first boss. And you'll notice I had like 1200 MP. That's what I'm saying. You don't want to wait till you're at super low MP to make use of that tool. You want to be making use of it as soon as you hit an MP threshold where it's comfortable. You know, where you know I'll be using MP still, but this is regenerating it so I don't have to worry as much. Now, because I'm not a super, like, I'm not an endgame white mage, I don't know what the exact threshold is. Like, I gave you the example for Invigorate with the exact threshold. I don't know what that exact threshold is on a white mage, but I can tell you that it's at a pretty high MP amount. You're just not going to wait until you're almost at MP. That's the most important thing to get across. All right, so I think this is the last trash pull before we move on. Nice. I think I might hit. Nah, I'm not gonna hit level 40 this dungeon. I hit 39 earlier, I think. I don't know if I hit 30. No, I hit 39 in this dungeon. Yeah, I thought I might have hit it before the dungeon actually started, but that's not true. And you'll see now that because I have this good tank, because I have this CCing black mage, how much DPS I'm really able to put out as a healer. You know what? I put a regen on the tank like so, and bam. I switch back to cleric stance. Make sure you're not in cleric stance when you put that regen on the tank. That's a very important detail. And look, I don't think I've healed him at all this pull. I think maybe I healed him at the very start after the first regen, just because he had 4 enemies hitting him. But look at this. You know how much this is? This is like having a 3rd DPS, and that speeds up the dungeon a lot, which is why I really, really want to get that across. A lot of healers are so, you know, like, oh, I'm not a DPS. I'm playing a healer. You know, I shouldn't ever be DPSing. That's not true at all. You absolutely should learn how to do both. Now, if you're not comfortable, like you're in a dungeon with a tank that's got like level 15 gear on and it's Scutter's Cry, and you know, if you're in a situation like that where you literally can't take a second away to stop healing, perfect. If you're inexperienced and you're not comfortable with your ability to do so, also, you're doing the responsible thing by just healing. The ultimate goal, though, is that you will eventually learn that aspect of healing, the balance between DPSing and healing. Because I say this all the time, the best form of damage mitigation in a fight is making sure the boss dies faster. I know it sounds so stupid, but think of it, as soon as the boss is dead, it stops dealing damage. That's exactly my point. And if the boss stops dealing damage, then you don't have to worry about healing. It's just, I really like enforcing that point. So I'm just gonna throw a regen. I love warriors at this level, by the way. I love them. I love warriors at this level. I also much prefer white mage on this dungeon than scholar. Scholar, unless you have conjurer leveled already, doesn't have stone skin. They don't have Asuna, which, by the way, as a scholar, not having Asuna on this fight sucks. It sucks a lot, because the boss likes to put a dot on party members, and it hits really hard. So he just put it on me. Guess what I can do? I can Asuna it off. Guess what? It stops dealing damage. Scholars don't have leeches at this level. So that thing will just burn through and do like 2,000 damage before it eventually wears off. It's just a pain. And I'm so glad to be on white mage for this dungeon. I'm actually going to Shroud of Saints here. So Shroud of Saints, start getting my MP back. Any day now. Oh, there we go. When this happens, by the way. So the only thing you really have to do for this dungeon is, when that happens, not be in the middle of the room. Which happened there. It's okay. It's not a big deal. You just, when he sucks you into the middle, you take some damage, then you need to run out of the middle. The only other thing is he does a breath attack. He does that dot that I mentioned, which I just have regens on everybody, so whatever. And when he goes underground, he summons, like, sand pillars that you just need to not stand in. At first, at high HP, he'll do it so that, like, he charges in a direct line. Like, he'll start on the opposite side of the arena and charge in a direct line. This one you might see is the different one. Let me see if he does it differently. Yeah, so this is the one where he just charges in a straight line, and you just have to make sure you're not at, like, the end location, pretty much. He also has another one where he just, like, spams sand pillars all around the outside of the room and then blows up in the middle, like you saw him do before. The real best advice I have is just literally stay on the outside of the arena as best you can and avoid the sand pillars when they come at you. Just make sure you're not where he comes out of the ground in the end. That's all that really matters. And other than that, if you're a scholar, just be prepared to do a lot more healing in that fight. That's a big thing, because without the leeches, you're going to have to deal with that dot, and it hurts. You could see how much damage it was doing to me. It was doing a lot. It's why you don't mess around with it. I'm just waiting for the tank to zone through so I can give him a stone skin, and we can get going. Level 50, luckily, we'll have stone skin too. We won't need to worry about that. There he is. And we're good to go. My Protect also only has 6 minutes left on it. I'm not going to re-protect yet. I can actually re-protect at the start of this next pull. We're not going to take another 30 minutes to get through the dungeon. We're actually making pretty good time. I'm going to cast this... nope, not Stone Skin. Whoops. That's the wrong ability. See, even I cast the wrong ability sometimes. And sometimes I'm on the wrong hotbar as well. Controller problem. That's a controller problem. That's specifically a controller problem. I've actually, I've been playing my white mage on my main with the keyboard and mouse. And it's actually a lot of fun. I actually really like both the healers in this game. I've always kind of just dismissed white mage because I love scholar. But I had fun playing white mage. I think it was a little bit of it was because it was, you know, a different experience for me. Which obviously is going to influence the way that, you know, I feel about it and I look at it. But, I mean, I've been having fun with it. And I think that's the most important thing. You need to find a job that you have fun on. You need to have fun. It is a game. This is a video game. Don't forget. I know it's an MMO and we like to pretend like it's all work and no fun. But it's you're supposed to have fun. Like, that's supposed to be a thing. Like, I'm not imagining that, right? Like, you are supposed to have fun. I think you're supposed to have fun. You know what? Now I'm not sure, but I think you're supposed to have fun when you're playing games. First and foremost. So this is another, these are optional pulls you're seeing us do right now. You don't have to kill these things that we're killing right now. But whatever. It's not a big deal. I don't mind. More EXP. I think there's a treasure coffer over here as well. So there's a lot of, like, extra treasure coffers in this dungeon. More so than some of the previous ones. And these aren't so bad to reach out to and get. So you'll very often see groups going out of their way, just killing the extra mobs. I'm getting 2,300 EXP a kill because I have the rested. I definitely don't mind it taking a little bit longer. Especially because I'm just doing the dungeon without the roulette. So I'm not waiting for a roulette bonus at the end here, you know. I'm not trying to speed through the dungeon so I can get to that roulette bonus. No, I want the individual kill experience. I really kind of wish... I'm almost contemplating waiting until level 50 to do the Black Mage and tank thing, but I really want to show tanking mid-level dungeons and DPSing mid-level dungeons, because it's a lot different than when you did it before. It is. And I went out of the way to do it before, so why would I not go out of my way to do it now? I guess I'm just really, eager. I'm just eager to get this character to level 50 and really get this series, like, we've gotten through most of the mid-level areas. But to get this character to 50 is going to be great. Let's see what that loot was, by the way. Amethyst earrings. Dexterity. No, thank you. No, thank you. Give him a regen. And let's get to work. I just love when I have tanks that I can trust to do this with. Give him a regen and just DPS. I love it. It makes the dungeon go so much faster. I think the only person who wouldn't earn my commendation here is the Dragoon. They're doing good damage, don't get me wrong. Just at the beginning of the dungeon, they were just kind of standing in AoEs. They didn't really care. And I guess I can understand it to a degree because it doesn't really hit that hard, you know, especially when we have a tank like this that, you know, isn't taking a lot of damage, and you have a healer that's a little bit more experienced. But I don't know. Like, the Black Mage doing his rotation right also, I guess, is just not a good reason. I should kind of have that expectation that he can, you know, do his rotation right. It's just I'm kind of used to not having that expectation when I go into the Duty Finder. So I think the tank is going to earn it for what he did at the beginning. Because, honestly, seeing that new player message to me is a big deal. Even though, you know, we didn't actually have a new player in here, it mattered to me that he took his time to do that. Because it's a thing you just don't see new players. It's a courtesy you just don't see new players getting that much anymore. You know? Maybe when you get to the bosses, people will say, is anybody new? But they didn't check at the start of the dungeon. They're just asking now because you're there. You know, at that point, you're kind of just like, maybe I should ask if anybody's not done this before. But he was literally like, oh, it's somebody's new. Who's the new guy? Who's the new guy? Just so I know, who's the new guy? And then he did the whole dungeon. I like it. I like. We've had some pretty good tanks leveling up. We've had some really good tanks throughout this series, if I may say so myself. Usually not that lucky. Usually, the reason why I like queuing into dungeons as either a tank or a healer is not just for the fast queue times. It's because I trust myself. I trust myself to do the right thing on those classes. Whereas the Duty Finder, can't always trust them to do the right thing. But here, I can trust them. I can trust you, JL, CW, and NG. I can trust all three of you. I'm proud to say that I trust you all with my life. But I prefer healer. If I'm gonna queue into something to make sure that we don't die, healer is the bigger one for me. Because, you know, as a tank, sometimes it's scary if you have a healer that doesn't do very well. If you're if you're a DPS, it's equally as scary to have either a tank or a healer. And if you're a healer, even if the tank isn't doing the right thing, as long as you keep a level head, you can usually make up for it depending on the level of the issue. But yeah, I just prefer going healer. Also, I regened him. That was a mistake. I wonder if he's going to click it off. A lot of intelligence gear. It's funny because I literally said I don't think I'm going to level my Black Mage on this character. Now I get literally nothing but intelligence gear. Alright, by the time he gets up to the trash, the regen should be gone. The regen should be gone. I don't know where my language went this past week. But I'm not Englishing very well. I don't English very good. In case you couldn't tell. I don't English well. Okay. So this is the last trash pull before the last boss. Now, this last boss is, I'd say, the most complex of all of the dungeon bosses until level 50. Even at level 50, he's more complex than some of those bosses. But that, a lot of it is just going in the first time. You don't know what the messages mean. Because what the boss is going to do is they're going to switch between the violet head. Their eyes will glow like violet, or they'll glow blue. And he's got like 8 different abilities that you have to deal with. You'll see. It's a pretty good first boss. It's a pretty good last boss, I must say. And you have to remember, Cutter's Cry was a 1.0 dungeon, and this guy was the last boss, and he was very difficult at level 50 back then. Now it's a little bit different because there's a different version of this boss at level 50. But we are going to be fighting the Chimera. So the Chimera has a lot of different mechanics. So he's got 3 heads and a tail. In this fight, I'm pretty sure the tail does absolutely nothing. But each of the heads does a different conal attack like that. The lightning head, if it hits you, will paralyze you. The ice head, which is the other one that goes in the other direction if it hits you, will slow you down. That head. And then he has a frontal breath, which he just does that's instant, and it's just extra damage on the tank. Nothing you can do about that. You just got to heal through it. So the goal is you really want to dodge those as best as possible. So the boss, I highly recommend focus targeting this boss. I actually don't remember how to do it. Whoops, that's not it. I don't remember how to do it on the controller. There it is. That's not it. Okay. All right. Well, I don't remember. Okay. It's not L1. Maybe it's Shift L1. Definitely not. Okay, so he's got a bunch of different attacks. He's got Ram's Voice, and he's got Dragon's Voice. Those are the first 2 attacks that he really does. I'm going to try and keep the boss targeted as best as possible so we can see. That was the Flame Breath right there, so we can see the names of the different abilities. But you'll also see it's be like the dragon's eyes now burn violet. That means that he's going to do Dragon's Voice. When he does Dragon's Voice, you have to run towards the boss. When he does Ram's Voice, you have to run away from the boss. So it just said the Ram's eyes burn blue. Also, if the Chimera's eyes focus on a single target, that means he's going to shoot a lightning orb at that person. They just need to run away. That's the most important thing, is that they just get the hell out of there. Ram's eyes now burn blue means he's doing Ram's Voice. See? Like that. The Chimera's eyes focus on a single target. So you see that crosshair that person gets? Now they just run away. And they're good. Then you have Ram's Breath. You have Dragon's Breath. We already went over those. He's got one more mechanic that he's going to do. Oh, and he got hit by it. That's not that big a deal. No problem. I'm just kind of paying attention to healing this fight so I can explain things at the same time. I can usually DPS this fight. By the way, if 3 of your party members wipe and you're anybody but a monk, if you have a ranged attack to use, you can honestly solo this boss fight. I've soloed this boss from like 40% before just by running in a circle. So Dragon's Voice, everybody's running close to him to avoid this. You can see it from here, but I'm so far away that I can dodge it like that as well. Whenever you get that orb, if Dragon's Voice is coming out, you either have to kind of angle it so that you can get back near the boss but without getting it to explode on everybody, or you have to make sure that you run far enough away so that you're out of range. And finally, the last thing he does is Ram's Keeper, which is this little ice puddle right here. He usually does it right after putting a lightning orb on somebody, which you'll see again in a second here, right there. Following the Black Mage, they just run away, not a big deal. And there's Ram's Keeper. Puts it on the ground. If you stand in it, bad things happen. As you see right here, it gives me Frostbite. I step out of it. I don't have Frostbite anymore. He's doing Ram's Voice. Tank. Oh, goodness. Well, he's alive at least. I think he tried to stay in range to kill the boss before we died. But overall, super simple dungeon. When it says the dragon's eye glows violet, you run closer to him. When it burns blue, you run away. When it burns... Sorry, the guy got the card. There's a triple triad card that comes from this dungeon as well, the Chimera card. So when his eyes burn blue, you run away. When his eyes burn violet, you run towards him. When it focuses a single person, that person with the crosshair runs away. When he summons does Ram's Keeper on you, you dodge it. When he does either of the breath attacks, you dodge that, and you just heal up Lion's Breath. And bam, you're good to go. It's a lot of little things, but I mean, you'll be all right. I'm confident you'll be all right. I'm gonna take it. Why not? I finished the dungeon. I'm gonna take it. It's mine. So anyway, that was Cutter's Cry. I'm contemplating doing Cutter's Cry on the others. I'm still contemplating it, because I really just want to get this character to 50 more than anything. The next dungeon is going to be Stone Vigil, which is 41. Then it'll be Darkhold. Then it'll be Aurum Vale. Then we'll have Castrum and Praetorium. We still have to fight Garuda also. So there's a lot of things we still need to do. So I'm going to cut this video here. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you for continuing to watch my Let's Play series. And I'll see everybody in the next part. It'll be one of those things that I just said. We'll see. Until then, take care.